So I'm going to give a talk, a very down-to-earth talk, where I will define almost everything. So the goal of the lecture is to introduce periodic and motivic Igusa theta functions, and I hope at the end, maybe during the last talk, or maybe before, to explain you the connections with singularity theory, normally in complex singularity theory, and all this talk will be connected with the talk of the Oshkound. Okay, so you have a kind of set of singularity talks. So just to start, I begin with an introduction. So you consider a polynomial with integer coefficients and d variables, and you fix an integer n. And you assume R, and you assume that R does not divide all the coefficients of f. Okay, and the question, natural question, is to count the number of solutions of this equation in the ring Z mod R. Okay, so you are interested by this question. So you see that if you use the Chinese remainder theorem, to solve this question, it's enough to know the solution when R is a power of a prime. Okay, it is enough to answer that question. For R power of pi, where pi is prime. Okay? So I denote by Fn, the cardinal, thing that I've written here. So Pn plus 1 d such that okay, and we can start by some examples. Some examples of computation of this Fn. So for instance, you consider a parabola. Okay? So you have a parabola, so this is a smooth curve. And then if you do the computation, you will see that Fn, so if I write again, so this is a cardinal of xy, z plane plus 1 z square, such that you have y equal to x2 modulo Pn plus 1. So this is a graph in some sense. This is a graph. So this is equal to the cardinal of x running on this. So this is p n plus 1. This is n plus 1. P power n plus 1. So this is easy. Fn is that. So now we consider another example. F2, which is a normal crossing. Okay, so now we have a singular point. At the origin, but it's an easy singular point. Okay, so if you do the same computation, you will, so this is an exercise, you will find that Fn is equal to n plus 2 Pn plus 1 minus n plus 1 Pn. So you still have a formula. Now you consider another example, which is the case of the cusp, y2 minus x3. So now you have another singular point, but the singularity is different. Okay, so this is the cusp. And then if you do the computation, you observe that F0 is P, F1 is P 2P minus 1, F2 is P2 2P minus 1, F3 is P3 2P minus 1, F4 is P4 2P minus 1, and then F5 is different, is of the form P5 P squared plus P plus 1, F6 is P6 P squared plus P plus 1, and then F7 is different. Okay, and then you have also F11, F12, which are different. So you see, you don't have a formula like this, but you can observe that you can have a kind of some harmony in the result. Okay. So from that point of view, Borevich and Safarevich made a conjecture in their book . In 66, so in their book it's a conjecture that the zeta function which is a general tree series with coefficient Fn. So this zeta function is rational. In that case, if it's rational, then you can understand that you can express inductively all the coefficients, and that's why you have this kind of formula, this kind of harmonicity. Okay. Okay, so the thing I want to show you is that the more the singular point is complicated, the more the formula are complicated. Okay, And if I wrote you the expression of the rationality of this function, you have, so for f1, zpt is equal to p over this. For f2, you have this kind of things. And for f3, you have, so p1 plus p minus 1t plus p6 p5 t5 minus p7 t6 divided by 1 minus p7 t6 1 minus pt. Okay. Okay. So in fact, one of the goals of my lecture is to give you at least one proof of this conjecture. Okay, maybe two. It will depend on the time and on our discussions. So Iguza give a proof of this conjecture in the case where you have just an hypersurface. So Iguza in 75 proved that conjecture. Okay. So for that, just in the next talk we will give the proof, but now I just show you the strategy. He introduces the periodic zeta function. So this is called Iguza periodic zeta function. Then he shows that when you look at the zeta function there evaluated in p minus s minus d, then this is equal to p minus s. So you have this rational form, 1 minus zfs. So to prove the rationality of that zeta function, it's enough to prove the rationality of this motivic zeta function. So then we focus on that. And to prove that ZFS is rational, is proved using what we call a resolution of singularities. And especially of f equal to 0, and you need also a periodic change variable formula. So in some sense, the idea is to say if I'm able to prove the conjecture where f is a monomial, then I can do the job for anything using a resolution of singularities. So this is the plan of the proof of Iguza, and in the next talk we will do the proof slowly, and then Moser in 81 proved the generalization of the conjecture when you replace f by a system. So instead of looking just one function in zx1, xd, you consider a system. So this is an algebraic variety. And then Mother proves that. And using more or less the same strategy of Iguza and Denef in 84 proved the theorem without using the resolution of singularity. So the idea of Denef, and I hope I will have time to explain you that, is to use model theory and quantifier elimination theorem. Okay. So the basic idea in this proof is to say I need to go back to something which is easy, like a monomials. And to do that, we have two possibilities. So maybe some monomials times some units, but you don't care of the unit. And you have two processes, one using resolution of singularities and the other using logic, and in particular cell decompositions, preparation theorem, just to go back to that case. So I hope I will have time to show you this kind of ideas. Okay, so today the goal of the lecture is to introduce this kind of things. Okay, so meaning what is the periodic number? So we have seen that in the last talk. Okay, periodic integration, and to give you also an analog of this periodic integration over this discrete valuation ring. Okay, and the analog is called motivic integration. Okay. Okay, so let's start with the first point. So integration on valued field. So I will only consider the case of periodic numbers and Lorentz series with complex coefficients. So I start with periodic integration. So just I recall the construction. So you start with P, a prime number. Okay, and you consider the periodic valuation. And I will denote the periodic valuation by order of P. So it's a function from Q to Z union plus infinity. So you map 0 on plus infinity, and you write a rational number in the following way. So you consider the maximal power of P dividing you write in this way, Pm A over B, where P and A are prime, coprime, and P and B are coprime, and also A and B are coprime, and then you map X to M. So this is a periodic valuation, and it has some properties. So this is infinite if and only if by definition X is 0. The order of the product is the sum of the order. And the order of the sum is bigger than the minimum of the order of X, order of Y. So this is a valuation, discrete valuation. And then you have a periodic absolute value. So from Q to R and to X, you assign exponential minus the periodic valuation of X. So I will denote it by this. So this is an absolute value. Okay, so this is equal to 0 if and only if X is 0. The absolute value of the product is the product of absolute value, and the sum is lower than the max of the absolute value. So this is ultrametric inequality. And because of this ultrametric inequality, the geometry of QP is very, very different than the geometry of the reals. So I will explain that. But before I define QP, okay, so we denote by QP absolute value of P the completion of Q with the periodic absolute value. And we have the following description. So elements of QP can be considered as a Laurent series. Okay, so where n is an integer. For all k larger than n, the coefficient ak is an element between 0 and p minus 1. And you start with something which is non-zero. So an is non-zero. So this is the usual description of QP. And then you have also, from that point of view, by construction, an extension of the valuation and of the absolute value. So the order of P from QP so you map 0 to infinity, and if you here and the order of X in that case is n. Okay, and for maybe later we will need the notion of angular component. Oh, maybe I will write later. So also the absolute value of X will be defined as exponential minus order of P of X. So using that, you have, so this is a valued field, and you have the ring of integers, and you have the residue field attached to that. So ZP is a set of elements of QP with order positive. The maximal ideal a set of elements of QP with order strictly positive. Okay, so this is the maximal ideal. So this is, in fact, ZP is a local ring. And when you look at the quotient, this is equal to Z over PZ, so you recover the finite field. So this is a residue field. Okay, and then you have an angular component map from QP to the residue field, which maps X starting by A, Pn, plus etc. to this coefficient. And you map 0 to 0. So this is called angular component. So later, if we do some model theory, we will need a language for the valued field. We need a language for the residue field. We need a language for the target, for the value group, which will be that. And we will connect the sort, namely the valued field with the residue field using the angular component. So you will have a symbol for that. And you will also need a symbol for a connection between the valued field and the value group of the valuation. So I will explain that later. Okay. Okay. So using that definition, you can consider balls. And using the ultrametric property, we can observe some specific phenomenon due to this non-Archimedean ring. So definition. So in the following talks, I will always denote by BAR. Okay. So A is an element of QP. Okay. Or maybe it's later on QPD. And this R here is an integer. And this will be the valuative radius. So this ball is defined as, so with usual notation, this is the ball of center A and radius exponential minus R, and it will be the closed ball. Okay. So what is it? This is a set of elements of QP such that the periodic order of the difference is larger than R. And if you write the definition of the periodic absolute value, this is exactly the same as the set of periodic numbers such that the absolute value of x minus a is lower than exponential minus r. Okay. So that's why you have the same thing. But when you do non-Archimedean geometry, it's more sympathical to work with this kind of notation. So all the time I will use it. Okay, so some remark. So you see, as Z is discrete, then this is the same to say that order of P x minus a larger or equal to R, and order of P x minus a strictly larger than R minus 1. So you have this remark. Now that means that the ball, the closed ball, with center A and radius exponential minus r is equal to the open ball. So in that world, closed balls are also open, okay? Except if you have point. So I suppose that, yeah, R is an integer. So that means that the metric space QP is totally disconnected. Also, other properties. So, remark. So, because of ultrametric property, all triangles are isosceles. For any ball B with radius r, then for any A in B, you have, by this property, you have that B is equal to the ball with center A and radius r. Okay, that means that every point of the ball is the center of the ball. This is completely counterintuitive, but this is the case because of this this property. Okay, every point of a ball is the center of a ball. And as a consequence of that, if you take two balls, and you assume that the intersection is non-empty, then you have an inclusion from B to B prime, or from B prime to B, and if also you assume that balls have same radius, if furthermore they have same radius, then the balls are equal. So you can check as an exercise of all of these properties using the ultrametric relation. Okay. So now we can look at the periodic measure. And to start, we can consider the following example. So ZP, as I said, is a set of elements of QP with positive order.
Sorry, so what does that mean? Like triangles are isosceles?
I don't know the English word. It's something like that. Any triangles are of this form. It's an exercise. So ZP is a set of elements of QP such that the order is larger than 0. So this is, with my notation, the ball center 0 and valuative radius 0. So if you prefer, this is one is exponential minus 0. And then you see that you can write ZP has a disjoint union when A runs on the residue field of A plus PZP. So just to start by the digits A. Okay, so you have this disjoint union, and then you see that this is also the ball centered at A with variative radius 1. So if I draw a picture, you have ZP, which is like this, and you have P balls. Okay, etc. But you can do the same. You can play the same game, and more generally, ZP can be described as the disjoint union of A0 plus A1P plus AR minus 1, PR minus 1 plus PR ZP. So you look at the R first digit of your periodic numbers. Okay, and this is this disjoint union is done on A0 AR minus 1 in ZPZ to DR. So in some sense, if I do this, then I fix the two first digits, okay, and I can continue. Etc. Okay. So it's just an example and a remark, but in that way you can understand after how we construct the periodic measure. Okay, so periodic integration. So, has the residual field of QP is finite. Okay, so it's Z over PZ. Then the metric space QP with the periodic absolute value is locally compact, as you have seen, and is a locally compact metric space, and it admits R measure. Okay, and so I will denote by this measure of P, which is unique assuming that the volume of ZP is 1. So you have a normalization factor, and I fix it imposing that the measure of the unit ball is 1. So using this kind of decomposition, so by the star decomposition, and using the fact that the measure is additivity and invariance by translation, of the measure, then you see that the measure of A plus PZP should be equal to P minus 1. Okay? And you could observe that 1 is equal to P times P minus 1. And more generally, using the second decomposition, the measure of A0 plus A1P plus etc. AR minus 1, PR minus 1 plus PR ZP so which is the measure of the ball writing like this, should be equal, if you look at what I have written, to P minus R. So it's always P minus the radius of the ball. Okay. So more generally, if you have a ball of dimension d, dimension d ball, like this, then the periodic measure of that ball will be equal to P minus R d. So d is the dimension, and R is the radius. Okay. Okay. So, of course, in periodic integration, we will not just integrating balls, but we can explain other measure of measurable sets. And one of them, which will be used for the proof of Iguza theorem on the Borovich-Averevich conjecture, is the notion of cylinder. So I define periodic cylinder. So, what is it? You take an integer m, and you denote by Pm the truncation modulo Pm plus 1. Truncation modulo Pm plus 1. And now you consider a part. So a cylinder, of course, has a base. Okay, so the base of the cylinder will be a part, so necessarily a finite part of this set. And you look at the preimage by the truncation of that set. So meaning that you fix the m first digits of each coordinate of your point, and then the rest is anything else. So you will have a cylinder. Okay. So let S a subset of this. Okay. And then the cylinder over S is the inverse image by the truncation map of S in the PT. So the first m digits of element of Pm minus 1s are Es. So this is the base. So you really have something like that. Okay, and so the fact is that for such a cylinder, you can observe that for any m larger than m, the cardinal, so let's denote this by C as a cylinder, the cardinal of the projection, the truncation of C modulo Pn plus 1 divided by Pn plus 1d is in fact equal to the cardinal of this. And this is in fact the periodic measure of C. So just I write the proof and then I will explain you how to integrate functions. So indeed, let n larger than m, then just using a partition with digits, you can write your cylinder as the disjoint union of A plus Pn plus 1 ZPD. And then you have that the periodic measure of C is equal to the cardinal of PNC times the periodic measure of a ball of radius n plus 1. So that means that this is the cardinal of PNC divided by P and D. So everything is equal to the periodic measure, and it's just a partition and the use of translation invariance. Okay. Okay, so now for integrating, so we will just need that for the proof and for the recall on periodic integration. Maybe next week I will explain you how to integrate above a variety. It will depend about what we need. So now for functions, so if you pick, so I just to show you, I take something which is just polynomial, but you can also define that for QP analytic functions. So you start with a polynomial with coefficients in QP. So this gives you a function from QP to QP, and if A is a measurable set of QPD, you define the integral of the absolute value of f above A as what you imagine the sum of an integer of the periodic measure of the set of points with the order fixed equal to n. Okay, so if I look at, I'm just doing a partition of A where the order of f is constant, meaning that the absolute value of f is constant. Okay, so if I have this, I know the absolute value of f, this is equal to p minus n. Okay, I recall you. Okay, so you define that whenever this series is convergent in the real. Okay, so example related to the Igusa theorem. So more generally, before doing the examples, if here I put a S with S positive, then here I have a S. Okay, so this is relating to what I have written before. And example, you want to integrate the absolute value of x to the S, where x runs on ZP, so you are inside the ball, and you assume more than that, the order of P x is larger than M. So I'm looking to this ball. So I want to integrate that. So if I use the definition, this is the sum for n larger than m of the periodic measure of the element of QP, of ZP, such that the order of x is equal to n, p power minus ns. And you can see that this object is in fact the difference between a ball with a variative radius n minus the ball with variative radius n minus 1. Okay. What I'm saying? Plus 1. This is equal to saying that you are equal to n, meaning that you are larger than n but strictly lower than n plus 1. So that gives you that you are summing on P and S, and you have this, and this is equal to something like that. So it's rational. So I just want to show you that if x is very simple, it's just a monomial, then you have an easy computation. And this is the same if you consider several variables and you take a monomial like this, then to compute integration of ZPD with in a ball, you will have similar, using Fubini, you will have several computation of that sort, and you'll have something which is rational. Okay. So if you have a machinery which transform your function locally to a monomial, then you are able to find rational function. Okay. And of course, the resolution of singularity will depend on the nature of the singularity. Okay. So it will depend on the number of blow-ups to do in order to resolve the singularity. Okay.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
If I understood correctly, you said that you define this integral in this way.
Yeah, if the series is convergent,
Yeah.
we say that f is integrable.
Yeah, but on the other hand, having a Haar measure, the integral is defined by itself in the sense of, by having a Haar measure, you have an integral.
Yeah, but okay.
So it's the same.
Okay. Yeah,
so
this is the same. But I mean here, this is integrable. Fs is integrable. And
Okay.
the values of the integral is that if and only if this formal series is convergent, of course. Okay? So I still have half an hour, so now I will explain you. So I spent a lot of time, maybe some of you know very well periodic numbers, so I'm sorry for all the recall, but anyway, I will explain you now the motivic point of view. Okay, so now we will work on CT, and the situation is quite different because C is not finite. Okay, so that means that you don't have a locally compact space, you don't have a real R measure. So the idea is, how can we do in that case? B. Motivic integration. So, as I said, now we work with CT. So the formal series with complex coefficient, and also this is a discrete valuation ring. As well, I can write a formal series like this, where this guy AN is non-zero, and this gives you a valuation and a periodic absolute value, and define like this. So the ideal generated by T is the maximal ideal. And when you look at the quotient, you have the residue field, which is C. So a remark. Is that when I can describe CT has a disjoint union over element of C of A plus TCT. Okay, so I'm just doing a partition using, as before, the first digits of my formal series, but now as C is infinite, I have an infinite union. Okay, so this is, as I explained, the ball of center 0 and valuative radius 0, which is a disjoint union of balls of valuative radius 1. But you don't have infinitely many. And as I said, balls, open balls, are also closed. So using that, you can see that balls are not compact. You don't have the property of Borel-Lebesgue. So this is the first remark. And so that means that CT is not locally compact for the Teadic topology. And also, using this decomposition, you can observe that you can't have a R measure with real values. And there is no R measure with real values. Indeed, if you normally you want to have a measure of a ball to be finite, okay, and also you want to have the measure of that ball finite and independent from the center A. So this is invariance by translation. So if you require that thing, then you will have the measure of the unit ball should be bigger than the sum of both integers of the measure of that balls. Okay, so this should be something like infinite times the measure of a ball, and this should be finite. So this is impossible. So you don't have R measure with real values, but you have Kontsevich, and Kontsevich explains how to do using an analogy with a periodic integration. So Kontsevich ID in 95. So it's the following. In periodic integration, P is nothing else than the cardinal of the residue field. Okay. Here we have the residue field is C, but there is no notion of cardinal because it's infinite. So the idea of Kontsevich is to say, okay, we will consider L, which will be the isomorphism class of the fan line above C. Okay, so I use a schematic notation. So A1, if you don't know, A1 of C is just C, and when I will write GM, it will just C star. Okay, just use a schematic notation. So this is the idea. And so Kontsevich constructs a measure on some subspace of CT double bracket D with values in the Grothendieck ring of algebraic varieties. So I will define that now. So this is denoted by K0 var C. Okay. So what is that? So first of all, you need to define a group, and then you define the multiplication. And to define the group, you need generators. So the set of generators are, as we can imagine, isomorphism class of algebraic variety. So you look at all the algebraic varieties and you consider the equivalence relation to be isomorphic, algebraically isomorphic. And you look at the following relation called the cut and paste relation. If F is a closed algebraic subvariety of X, then you impose that the class of X is equal to the class of F plus the class of the complement of F in X. Okay. So for me, when I say algebraic variety, I consider also open Zariski subset. Okay. So you look at this relation and other relation for the product, for the ring structure, you ask to have the class of the Cartesian product of two algebraic variety equal to the product of classes. So example, just to understand what happened. So for instance, if I look at GM, then you see that the class of GM is the class of A1 minus a point. So this is L minus 1. If you look at the class of the projective line, this is the class of A1 plus the class of the point. This is L plus 1. If you look at the class of the parabola, then as the parabola is a graph, this is the class of the line. This is L. Now, if you look at the class of the cusp, then this is also the class of A1, but you know that you don't have isomorphism isomorphic to A1. But you know that you have a parameterization of the cusp minus the origin. Just doing that, T goes to T2, T3, and this gives you an isomorphism from GM to the cusp minus the origin. And using the additivity, you can add the point, and this gives you the equality to the line. Okay. So you have that. And the other thing which is very important for that ring is that you have a universal property property So from the category of algebraic variety, you have a canonical map to the Grothendieck ring of variety. You attach to X his class, bracket of X. And now if you consider lambda an additive and multiplicative invariant to some ring R, then you have a factorization of the invariant through the bracket map. So there is a unique ring morphism which factorizes this map. So for instance, so I don't know the background of the audience in topology, but if you consider the Euler characteristic with compact support, characteristic with compact support, this is an additive and multiplicative invariant, and it can factorize this through the bracket map. So maybe this afternoon, George will explain the construction in the semi-algebraic setting of that guy. But anyway, so you have here an example. So just you look at the alternated sum of the dimension of the cohomology group with complex coefficient, for instance. So this is additive and multiplicative. And then what you can observe is that by the commutativity of the diagram, the image of the bracket by lambda tilde is lambda of x. So in particular, first, the bracket of x contains all the additive and multiplicative invariants of x. And secondly, so that's why in the theory, in a very, very, very naive way, naively, we can say that bracket of x is the motive attached to x, because once you know that, then using, so this lambda tilde is called realization map. So using the realization map, you recover the invariance of the variety x. And secondly, if you are able to prove that two varieties have the same symbol, bracket of x equal to bracket of y, then you know that x and y have same invariant. Okay. So and for the story, Batirev proved using periodic integration that two Calabi-Yau algebraic varieties have the same Betti, which are rationally equivalent, have the same Betti numbers. And Kontsevich proved more using motivic integration. He proved that two Calabi-Yau algebraic varieties, which are rationally equivalent, have the same classes. It was the beginning of the story. Okay. Okay. So now I just sketch the construction of motivic integration, and then we can stop. So the motivic measure. So this is by analogy with periodic integration. Okay, so as before, I denote by Pn the truncation modulo Tn plus 1. So it is reduction modulo Tn plus 1. And you can define a cylinder. So the part of CTD is a cylinder if and only if you can find an integer n, you can find some c in the image ct Tn plus 1 d such that you have A is the inverse image by the truncation modulo Tn plus 1 of C. So in the periodic case, here this set was finite, so you can take any set. Okay. Here you can't take any set. So you will consider C, which is a constructible set. So what is the meaning? Constructible set is the smallest class, including Zariski open set of CTD on Tn+1. And so you take all the Zariski open set and you close by intersection, complementation. Okay, and close by finite intersection and complementation. So by this process, a constructible set has a class using the cut and paste relation, has a class in the Grothendieck ring of a variety. So such a set has a class in So what is an example? Maybe which will be related with the next talk. So I take a polynomial. Then if you look at the arcs, so yeah, so now I can use the terminology. So elements are called arcs. Okay. So formal arcs such that the order of fxt is n is a cylinder. Okay, so fxt is something starting with Tn plus etc. And you see that to have this condition, you only need the n first digit of xt. You don't care of the rest because it will give you an order larger. So that means that everything is fixed. So it's a cylinder, and the base is at level Ct on Tn+1. So this is an example of cylinder. So fact, easy fact. If you take a cylinder at level n, then as before, as I shown for the periodic case, at level m, for any n larger than m, you can observe that the class of the truncation of A modulo Tn+1 divided by Lnd is equal to the class of Pma divided by Lmd. Okay, so here you see I divide by L. So if I divide by L, I have to be in a ring where I can divide by L. So that's why we work in the ring M, where you localize that ring at the inverse of L. Okay? So this is exactly the analogous of Z bracket 1 over P in the periodic case. You have to localize through P here and through L here. So you have this fact, and so I don't have time to prove this, but it's not a problem. And this is called the Motivic measure of A, of the cylinder A. Okay, so now in the 5 last minutes, so similarly, if you take a function such that for any n, the fiber of alpha is a cylinder, then you say that L minus alpha is integrable if and only if the integral of, so this is a symbol for the moment, but defined as the sum of the measure of the cylinder alpha minus n, L minus n. So this is a series. So this is a series. So to give a sense of that, I need something which is analogous to the reals. And the thing which is analogous to the real is a completion of that ring in such a way that L minus n goes to 0. So you take a completion. So you have integrability if and only if this is an element of that. So I just do the analogy. And to finish, we go back to the beginning. So if you consider an algebraic variety given by equation, so to be uniform, I use coefficients in Q. Then you can consider several questions. So I denote that by Fm. The set of elements such that so here, so I live in, here I have a D, here I have M, here I have a D. Modulo Pn plus 1. So at the beginning, we consider something like that. So in terms of arcs, this is related to the set of xt modulo Tn plus 1, xt a formal series, and such that fxt is 0 modulo Tn plus 1. Okay, so you have the Borevich-Safarevich problem was to consider the sum of the cardinal of Fn Tn for n positive. Then you can consider the analogy in the motivic setting. You look at the sum of the class of xn Tn in the so you can ask if this formal series is also rational or not. Okay, and this was done by Denef and Lozer. So the rationality I will explain next time. Rationality was proved of that formal series was proved by Denef-Lozer, and for that I give some references. But also you have an analogous program introduced by Serre and Osterley, which is you consider NN, and you look at the cardinal of X such that X is in ZP and Fi of X is equal to 0 for any I. So here, you see, I am equal to 0 up to truncation modulo Pn plus 1. Here, I am equal to 0. So I'm looking to a solution of Fi equals 0 in that ring. This is different. Okay. And Serre and Osterley ask on the rationality of that zeta function. And Denef using a logic, proves the rationality. And if you look at the motivic analog, then you will consider the set of arcs modulo Tn plus 1, such that, so xt is an arc, and as well for any I, fi of xt is equal to 0. So you have a kind of algebraic variety given by some equations, and you are looking to arcs inside the algebraic variety, and you can consider the sum of the class of this kind of, so this is Pn of L of x, the class of Pn L of x Tn. So this is completely similar to that, and Denef-Lozer proved that it is also rational. And to conclude, using model theory, you have some specialization from the motivic.
So what do you mean by rationality?
Say again?
So what do you mean by rationality of this guy?
So L of x is so this is the arc space of x. So you look at all the CT rational point of x. So you look at all the, and Pn is the truncation.
This is in this ring, right? Like, so the coefficients are in that ring. Yeah. So you have this expression with coefficients in the ring. So what do you mean by that?
I mean that you have an expression like that, sum of some classes, and you will have L minus nu I product of L minus nu I t power ni divided by 1 by, and here you have a class of something, for instance. Okay. So you have some rational function, okay, in T, and the coefficients are like that, all like that. And you have multiplication by class of this, okay? And this is a finite sum. And to tell everything, if you take a resolution of singularities, then you have a normal crossing divisor, you stratify, and this sum is done on the stratification of the normal crossing divisor. And we will do it next week. Okay, we'll show you how to do. But just to finish, you have a kind of specialization from this kind of formula to the periodic case, and this kind of specialization gives you some uniform result in P for almost every P. So you have to remove finitely many P, and I stop here. Okay.
when you use a resolution of singular to reduce the normal Gaussian case, so you need to increase your field.
Yeah, for QP, yes.
So, but you have also.
Yeah, we can do that.
Work for in this.
Yeah, at some point you have to increase your field, but yeah, it's not a problem. Okay, for the complex case, you don't have this kind of situation. Yeah.
So the logic enters in this like the choice of the definable set.
Yeah, exactly. So I will explain what is a definable set in a language, and then using.
So the ring also depends. The Grothendieck thing depends on the choice of what kind of. So the Grothendieck ring also depends on the choice of your kind of definable sets.
No. The Grothendieck ring is only for algebraic varieties of a